So there I was, standing in the backstage area of the Andromeda Prime Entertainment Complex, holding a cat carrier and wondering if I'd made a terrible life decision. Again. The Intergalactic Exotic Pet Championship was, according to literally every holoscreen advertisement in the galaxy, the most prestigious competition of its kind. 50 million credits to the winner. Broadcasting rights across 47 star systems, and most importantly, the kind of bragging rights that could get you free drinks at space stations for the rest of your natural life. The host, a 7-foot-tall reptilian named Vix Quarnax, was currently working the crowd into a frenzy. His scales shimmered under the studio lights as he gestured dramatically with all 4 of his arms. "Ladies, gentlemen, and gelatinous beings," Vix announced, his voice booming through the amphitheater. "Today, we witness the galaxy's most dangerous, most exotic, most absolutely terrifying creatures, all gathered in one place. Each contestant has scoured their homeworld for the ultimate predator." Through the curtain, I could see the audience losing their collective minds. Apparently, watching deadly animals almost kill their handlers was peak entertainment in this part of the galaxy. Who was I to judge? We had reality TV back on Earth. To my left, a Venusian competitor was restraining what looked like a sand serpent the size of a fire hose. The thing kept spitting acid that sizzled against its reinforced containment field. Lovely. To my right, something that resembled a jellyfish made of knives was floating in a specialized tank, its tentacles occasionally phasing through the glass, like the universe's worst magic trick. And there I stood, Jake Morrison, random human, holding a standard pet carrier from PetSmart that I'd bought for $49.99. A Rigelian stagehand, who looked like someone had given a praying mantis a clipboard and a bad attitude skittered over to me. "You're late," it clicked disapprovingly. "Contestant registration closed 10 minutes ago. We almost gave your slot away." "Yeah, sorry about that," I said, shifting the carrier to my other hand. Traffic was murder, literally. There was a cargo freighter crash on the orbital ring. The stagehand's antennae twitched as it consulted its clipboard. "Jake Morrison, human, Earth, and your entry is—" It paused, mandibles clicking in confusion. "You left the species designation blank." "Wanted it to be a surprise," I said with a shrug. From inside the carrier came a long, plaintive meow that sounded vaguely annoyed. Par for the course. The Venusian contestant overheard this and laughed, which sounded like rocks being ground together. "A surprise? Human, I have brought a sand reaper from the depths of the scorched wastes. It has a venom that can dissolve titanium. What could you possibly have that compares?" "Guess you'll find out," I said, taking a bite of the sandwich I'd been saving. Turkey and Swiss. The simple pleasures. Another competitor, a being that looked like it was composed entirely of angry geometric shapes, floated closer. The human mocks us with his casual consumption of nutrients. Does he not understand the caliber of competition he faces? "Oh, I understand perfectly," I replied between bites. "Just hungry. Long flight." Vix Quarnax's voice boomed again from the main stage. "And now, let us meet our magnificent competitors." The stagehand gestured frantically at all of us. "That's your cue. Everyone to the stage. Now!" As we filed out, I couldn't help but notice the way the other contestants kept glancing at my carrier. Not with fear, with barely concealed amusement. Like I was the punchline to a joke I hadn't been told yet. The Venusian leaned over as we walked. "No offense, human, but that container is rather small. Are you certain you brought the right creature?" "Pretty certain," I said. "He's definitely in there. I can hear him judging me." Another meow emanated from the carrier. This one sounded even more judgmental than the last. Yeah, this was either going to go really well, or I was about to become the galaxy's most viral blooper reel. I was betting on option 2, honestly. The stage lights hit us like a physical force, and the crowd's roar was deafening. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy, all packed into an arena that probably violated at least a dozen fire codes, were losing their minds with anticipation. Vix Quanix practically teleported to the first contestant, microphone clutched in one of his clawed hands. "Our first competitor needs no introduction," he bellowed, Commander Throck of the Battleworld Consortium. The beetle person in question stepped forward, and I had to admit, the guy had presence. 8 feet tall, covered in obsidian-black chitin armor, with mandibles that looked like they could cut through a bank vault. He was holding a chain attached to something that made the Venusian sand serpent look like a garden snake. The creature that emerged from Throck's reinforced container was basically a dinosaur that had been dipped in razor blades and anger management issues. Its scales were metallic, its eyes glowed red, and when it hissed, the front row of the audience actually leaned back. "Behold," Throck announced in a voice that sounded like a landslide. "The siege drake of Korriban Prime, armored hide that deflects plasma fire, teeth that can shear through starship hulls. This is a predator worthy of championship." The crowd went absolutely ballistic. Vix was eating it up, all 4 arms gesturing wildly. "Magnificent! And next, we have the incomparable Lady Shimzara of the Celestial Courts." Now this was a competitor who understood dramatic flair. Lady Shimzara floated onto stage in a dress that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. She was a noctillion, which meant she had approximately 12 tentacles arranged in a way that was somehow elegant instead of terrifying. Her translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. She gestured gracefully, and a swarm of what looked like glittering butterflies erupted from her ornate case. "The Shimmer Swarm of Nebula 7, she announced in a voice like wind, chimes. "Beautiful, are they not? Each individual moth is capable of consuming its own body weight in organic matter in under 3 seconds. As a collective, they have been known to reduce full-grown prey to skeletal remains in under a minute." To demonstrate, she released a synthetic dummy onto the stage. The swarm descended like a glittering cloud of death. 30 seconds later, there was nothing left but bones and the smell of flowers. The audience was in a frenzy now. "And now," Vix practically screamed, "Borgax the Destroyer." This guy. Oh man, this guy. Borgax looked like someone had built a professional wrestler out of volcanic rock and poor life choices. He stomped onto the stage carrying what appeared to be a box made of pure shadow. "Witness!" he roared, flexing muscles that had muscles. "The Shadow Stalker, a being from the dark dimension itself. It exists partially outside of normal space-time. It hunts by entering your nightmares." He opened the box, and something that hurt to look at directly slithered out. It was mostly absence, like someone had cut a hole in reality and given it teeth. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Several audience members screamed. One fainted. Borgax grinned, showing way too many teeth. "Your puny creatures cannot hope to compete with." "And finally," Vix interrupted, clearly trying to maintain his hosting momentum, "we have Jake Morrison from Earth?" He said Earth, the way you might say, that gas station with the weird smell. I stepped forward with my carrier, and the audience noise changed from excitement to confused murmuring. Commander Throck's mandibles clicked in what I was pretty sure was laughter. "That is your container. Human, my ration pack has more threatening packaging." Lady Shimzara tilted her head, tentacles swaying curiously. "Perhaps it is a very small creature, a microbe colony, a sentient virus." 5 credits says it's a plant," someone in the audience shouted. Borgax crossed his massive arms. "Human, I have brought a literal demon from another plane of existence. What could you possibly have in that tiny box?" I set the carrier down on the display platform and straightened up. "Well," I said, cracking open my second sandwich, "ham and cheese this time. You'll find out in a minute. But I gotta say, you guys are really overselling this whole thing. It's a pet show, not a gladiator match." From inside the carrier came another meow. This one sounded impatient. Vix Quarnix leaned in with his microphone, clearly hoping for good television. "The audience is dying to know, Jake. What incredible beast have you brought from the Deathworld of Earth?" I took another bite of my sandwich. "His name's Mr. Whiskers," I said, "and he's really not a morning person." The confusion on their faces was absolutely priceless. I reached down and unlatched the carrier door. For a moment, nothing happened. The entire amphitheater held its breath. Vix Quarnix leaned in closer, microphone ready. The other competitors tensed, clearly expecting something horrible to emerge. Then, moving with the urgency of a retiree at a buffet, an orange tabby cat stepped out onto the platform. Mr. Whiskers was, by every objective measure, completely ordinary. Medium-sized, slightly overweight, with the kind of face that always looked mildly annoyed at the universe's existence. He blinked slowly at the stage lights, yawned, and sat down to lick his paw. The silence was deafening. Then the audience started laughing, not polite chuckling. Full-on, gasping for air, howling. Some alien in the back was laughing so hard they fell out of their hover seat. Commander Throck's entire body was shaking with what I assumed was mirth. A feline. The human brought a common domestic feline. Lady Shimzara's bioluminescence flickered in colors. Was pretty sure indicated amusement. "Oh, you poor dear. Did you misunderstand the assignment? This is for exotic predators, not adorable companion animals." Borgax was laughing so hard his shadow demon started flickering uncertainly. I have seen hatchlings more threatening than this. Does it even have teeth? Vix Quarnix looked at me with something between pity and second-hand embarrassment. "Jake, surely this is a joke. Perhaps this is your mascot, and the real entry is still in transport." The head judge, a crystalline being called Arbitrator Kell, floated down from the judges' panel. Their voice resonated like a gong. "Contestant Morrison, according to Regulation 7.3 of the competition bylaws, all entries must pose a credible threat level. This is a harmless fluffball." Mr. Whiskers, hearing the word harmless, stopped licking his paw and fixed Arbitrator Kell with a stare that I recognized immediately. It was the stare he gave me right before, knocking something expensive off a table. "Harmless," I said, finishing my sandwich and dusting off my hands. "Oh man, you guys really don't know anything about Earth, do you?" I gestured at Mr. Whiskers, who had gone back to grooming himself. "Let me educate you. This is Felis catus, a terrestrial apex predator. Note the retractable claws, each one capable of extending to approximately 1 centimeter of razor-sharp keratin." 1 centimeter, Throck repeated, his mandibles clicking in amusement. "My siege drake has fangs longer than your entire creature." "Cool story," I said. "Mr. Whiskers also has exceptional night vision, can see in light levels 6 times lower than human baseline. He's got approximately 230 degrees of peripheral vision, hearing range up to 64 kilohertz, and those cute little ears, they can rotate independently to track multiple targets simultaneously." A few beings in the audience had stopped laughing and were pulling out data pads. "He's also an obligate carnivore," I continued, warming to my theme. "Which means he only eats meat, can't survive on anything else. His entire biology is designed around hunting and killing prey." "Prey like what?" Lady Shimzara asked, tentacles curling with curiosity. "Insects, small rodents?" "Birds, rodents, reptiles, amphibians," I listed off. "Pretty much anything smaller than him. Sometimes things the same size as him. Occasionally things bigger if he's feeling ambitious. He's an ambush predator with a killing bite designed to sever the spinal cord of—" As if on cue, Mr. Whiskers suddenly locked onto something. His pupils dilated to full black circles, his haunches lowered slightly. Then he pounced. The target was a decorative crystalline peace orchid sitting in a vase on the judge's table. It was apparently a priceless botanical specimen from the Delta Quadrant that took 300 years to bloom. Mr. Whiskers hit it like a furry orange missile. The vase shattered. The plant went flying. Dirt exploded across the pristine white judge's table. For exactly 3 seconds, Mr. Whiskers wrestled with the plant like it had personally insulted his mother. Leaves went everywhere. Then, satisfied with the destruction, he calmly sat down in the middle of the wreckage, wrapped his tail around his paws, and looked directly at Arbitrator Kell with an expression of pure innocence. The laughter had stopped. Several aliens were frantically typing on their datapads now. I heard fragments of panicked research queries. Earth gravity, 9.8 what? Deathworld classification. They evolved alongside these things? Commander Throck had stopped laughing. He was staring at Mr. Whiskers with what I recognized as professional respect. The creature. It shows no fear, no hesitation. It destroyed a sacred object in front of judges and shows no remorse. That's cats for you, I said cheerfully. Basically small lions that decided to tolerate humans in exchange for food and shelter. Emphasis on tolerate. They were worshipped as gods in ancient Earth civilizations. Were worshipped? Borgax asked quietly. Yeah, the cats remember though. They definitely remember. Mr. Whiskers yawned again, showing every single one of his 30 teeth, and several beings in the front row took an involuntary step backward. Arbitrator Kell's crystalline structure was vibrating in what might have been nervousness. Perhaps we should proceed with the demonstration round. Immediately. Yeah, this was going better than expected. Vix Cornax had lost about 70% of his showmanship bravado. His scales had dulled to a nervous gray, and only 2 of his 4 arms were gesturing now. The other 2 kept hovering protectively near his torso. Right, yes, the demonstration round, he announced, voice slightly higher than before. Each contestant will now showcase their creature's, predatory capabilities in a controlled environment. The stage crew wheeled out what looked like a reinforced testing arena. Clearly, they'd been expecting things to get messy. Commander Throck went first, because of course he did. The guy had that competitive energy that couldn't stand not being center stage. He marched his siege drake into the arena with the confidence of someone who'd never lost anything in his life. The drake snarled, scales glinting under the lights like animated knives. "Witness!" Throck bellowed. "The ultimate combat predator." The stage crew released a steel dummy into the arena. Military grade, alloy, according to the specs hovering on the holo screen. The siege drake lowered its head, throat sacs inflating. Then it exhaled. The stream of acid that erupted from its maw hit the dummy dead center. Metal hissed and bubbled, liquefying in seconds. The dummy collapsed into a smoking puddle that ate through the arena floor. The crowd went absolutely insane, cheering, stomping, the works. Throck bowed, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. "Let us see your pathetic creatures match that." Lady Shimzara went next, floating gracefully into the arena with her shimmer swarm orbiting her like a deadly halo. "Observe," she said softly, "the efficiency of the collective." A synthetic prey dummy was released. It was designed to run, to evade, to simulate actual hunting difficulty. It didn't matter. The swarm descended like a glittering tsunami. The dummy didn't even make it 5 meters before it was covered in hundreds of bioluminescent moths. The sound was like wind chimes mixed with a paper shredder. 12 seconds later, there was nothing left but a skeleton and some sparking servos. The judges were furiously scribbling notes. The crowd was loving every second. Borgax cracked his knuckles with sounds like breaking concrete. "Amateurs," he rumbled, stepping into the arena. His shadow demon slithered in behind him, reality bending around it in nauseating ways. "No dummy needed," Borgax announced. "Watch." The demon simply phased through the arena wall, went straight through solid matter like it wasn't even there. It circled the arena from outside the containment field, passing through obstacles like they were suggestions rather than physical objects. Then it emerged from the floor directly behind Vix Quaranax, who screamed and dropped his microphone. The demon returned to Borgax, who was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. That is power, the ability to strike from anywhere, from the space between spaces. The audience was beyond hyped now. This was exactly the kind of show they'd paid to see. All three competitors turned to look at me. "Human," Arbitrator Kell said, their crystalline voice vibrating with barely concealed skepticism. "Your turn. Show us what your cat can do." I looked down at Mr. Whiskers, who was currently sitting next to the carrier, looking at literally nothing with intense focus. Classic cat behavior. "Don't really need the arena," I said. "He's good right here." I reached down and unlatched the carrier door fully, swinging it open. Mr. Whiskers glanced at the opening. Then, with the purposeful determination of a creature on a mission, he stood up, stretched, and walked directly past the arena entrance. He hopped up onto the judge's table. Arbitrator Kell floated backward slightly. "What is it doing?" "Just watch," I said. Mr. Whiskers surveyed the table with the calculating gaze of a general surveying a battlefield. There was a scoring tablet, an ornate ceremonial gavel, a water glass, several data pads. He walked up to the tablet, made direct eye contact with Arbitrator Kell, and very deliberately pushed it off the table. The tablet clattered to the floor with a crack. Did it just..." Vix stammered. Mr. Whiskers moved to the gavel. Same routine. Eye contact. Push. Crash. Then the water glass. Eye contact. Push. Spectacular shattering. "Stop it!" one of the other judges shrieked. "Those are official competition materials." Mr. Whiskers ignored them completely. He walked to the exact center of the table, circled twice, and laid down directly on top of the main scoring console. The holographic display flickered and died under his weight. Then he started purring. "This is your demonstration?" Borgax demanded. "Destruction of furniture? My shadow demon can phase through dimensions." "Yeah," I said calmly. "But your demon does what you tell it to, right? It follows commands, shows respect to authority." Borgax frowned. "Well, yes, it is bound to my will." Mr. Whiskers just destroyed 3 pieces of expensive equipment, ruined an official judging station, and is now taking a nap on the consequences of his actions, I said. "He knows what he did. He did it on purpose, and he feels exactly 0 remorse. That's not predation. That's psychological warfare." Commander Throck's antennae had lowered. The creature, it understands property, understands value, and destroys it anyway. "Oh, he understands," I confirmed. "That's what makes it worse." Lady Shimzara's tentacles had gone very still. "You're saying this creature comprehends social hierarchy and actively chooses defiance?" "Every single day of his life," I said. Several aliens were typing frantically now. Someone in the audience shouted something about updating Earth's threat assessment. On the judge's table, Mr. Whiskers yawned, showing his fangs again, and rolled onto his back with his paws in the air. The siege drake, which had been so confident moments ago, had stopped moving. It was staring at Mr. Whiskers with the very specific stillness of a predator that had just realized it might not be the apex anymore. Arbitrator Kell's voice came out as barely a whisper. "What? What have you brought here, human?" "A cat," I said. "Pretty standard one, actually. I've got 2 more at home." The collective gasp from the aliens was music to my ears. That's when everything fell apart. Lady Shimzara's shimmer swarm, which had been orbiting her in perfect formation, suddenly broke pattern. The moths clustered together defensively, refusing to leave the protective sphere around their handler. "What's wrong with them?" she whispered, tentacles trembling. "They've never done this before." On the judge's table, Mr. Whiskers had rolled back onto his stomach. He wasn't looking at the moths, wasn't even acknowledging their existence. But his ears were angled in their direction, tracking their every movement with the casual awareness of something that hunted flying things for sport. The moths weren't stupid. They stayed exactly where they were. Commander Throck's siege drake was next. The massive armored predator, which had been radiating confidence and barely restrained aggression, had gone completely still. Its glowing red eyes were locked onto the orange tabby cat with an expression I recognized from nature documentaries. It was the look prey animals got right before they bolted. "Kragoth, attack position," Throck barked. The drake didn't move, its throat sacs deflated. It took one step backward, chain going slack. "Kragoth!" Throck's mandibles clicked in fury. "You have melted starship hulls. You have slaughtered entire battalions. That is a common house cat." Mr. Whiskers yawned and did that slow blink thing cats do. The drake flinched. "This is impossible," Throck muttered, his commanding presence evaporating. My drake has never shown fear, not once, not ever." But the worst was Borgax's shadow demon. The creature from literally another dimension, the thing that existed partially outside normal space-time, the entity that haunted nightmares. Took one long look at Mr. Whiskers and just left. It didn't phase through the arena wall. It didn't slither away menacingly. It straight up opened a portal to the dark dimension and retreated through it like someone canceling plans via text message. Borgax stared at the empty space where his demon had been. No. Krevthar, get back here." Nothing. The demon was gone. "It has never disobeyed before." Borgax turned to me, his rocky features twisted in confusion and anger. "What demon have you brought here, human? What dark ritual binds it to you?" "I literally adopted him from a shelter for $75, I said. "Came with his first round of shots." Arbitrator Kell was making sounds like grinding quartz. "This cannot be. The human's creature hasn't even moved. It hasn't demonstrated any aggression. It's just sitting there, grooming itself." Mr. Whiskers had indeed started washing his face, one paw methodically cleaning behind his ears. "Exactly," I said. "Your creatures are all doing the threat display thing, showing off, trying to prove they're dangerous. Mr. Whiskers doesn't need to prove anything. He knows what he is, and more importantly, they know what he is." "And what is that?" Vix Quarnax asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "An obligate carnivore from a death world with 9.8 meters per second squared gravity, who evolved to hunt for fun even when he's not hungry, who was worshipped as a god and has never forgotten it, and who shares living space with humans completely by choice because we're useful for opening cans." I paused. "Also, he's neutered, so he's not even operating at full hormonal capacity. This is him on easy mode." The silence that followed was broken only by Mr. Whiskers' purring, which rumbled across the stage like distant thunder. Borgax's voice was hollow. You said you have more of these." "Like 600 million on Earth, last count," I confirmed. "Most people have 2 or 3. Some have like 10. We just live with them, feed them, clean up after them. They knock our stuff over and we just accept it." Lady Shimzara's bioluminescence had gone completely dim. "You cohabitate with these apex predators? Voluntarily? Multiple specimens?" "Well, yeah," I said. "They're cute. Also, they kill mice." Commander Throck sat down heavily, his armor clanking. The humans keep these as pets. Plural. In their homes. Where they sleep. Pretty much." Someone in the audience fainted. For real this time. Arbitrator Kell's voice resonated with something that might have been respect or might have been terror. Possibly both. I hereby declare Jake Morrison and Mr. Whiskers winners of the Intergalactic Exotic Pet Championship by default. All other competitors have forfeited." The crowd was dead silent. On the judges' table, Mr. Whiskers stretched, yawned one more time, and settled back down for his nap. He had absolutely no idea he'd just conquered the galaxy. Vix Quarnax approached me with the championship trophy like he was handling unstable explosives. All 4 arms were shaking slightly. "Congratulations, Jake Morrison of Earth," he said, his voice professionally cheerful in that way that barely masked existential dread. "You are the new Intergalactic Exotic Pet Champion. 50 million credits have been transferred to your account. Your broadcasting rights are secured." I accepted the trophy, which was surprisingly heavy. Looked like platinum and crystallized nebula gas. Probably worth more than my entire apartment back home. "Thanks," I said. "Appreciate it. Good show." Mr. Whiskers, hearing my voice, opened one eye to assess whether this new development was worth his attention. He determined it was not, and went back to sleep. The trophy's presence was apparently less interesting than his nap. Vix leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "Jake, before you go, I must ask, purely for scientific curiosity and absolutely not because I'm updating every single threat database in the Galactic network. Your species keeps these creatures as companions. What other creatures share your world?" "Oh man, tons," I said. "We've got dogs too. Those are probably more popular than cats, actually." Every alien within earshot froze. "Dogs," Arbitrator Kell repeated slowly. "Tell me about dogs." "Well, they're descended from wolves. Pack hunters, apex predators in their own right, but we domesticated them like 15,000 years ago. Now they literally love humans more than they love other dogs. We bred them to be loyal to the point of psychological dependency." I scratched my chin, thinking. Actually, I almost brought my dog Rex instead of Mr. Whiskers, but he gets carsick on space flights, so. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Your world has another domesticated apex predator." Lady Shimzara's voice was faint. "One that you've psychologically bonded to your species." "Yeah, we've got like 900 million of those. Labs, German shepherds, pit bulls, chihuahuas. Though honestly, chihuahuas might be more dangerous than the big ones. Those little guys have zero fear and infinite rage." Borgax, still sitting on the floor, put his head in his hands. "They have varieties, specialized breeds. The humans have weaponized evolution. I mean, we also have horses," I offered. "Used to ride those into battle, and pigs, cows, chickens. We domesticated most things that didn't immediately kill us. Sometimes things that did immediately kill us. We just kept trying until they stopped." Commander Throck's mandibles were clicking rapidly, which I'd learned meant he was processing disturbing information. The Deathworld species didn't just survive. They dominated their ecosystem so thoroughly they turned other predators into pets. "That's one way to look at it," I said. Vix Quarnax was furiously updating something on his datapad. "I'm filing an emergency motion with the Galactic Council. Earth's classification needs to be updated from emerging species to do not engage without extreme caution." "That seems a bit much," I said. "You keep multiple apex predators in your dwelling spaces," he practically shrieked, "for companionship." "Well, when you say it like that, it sounds weird." On the judge's table, Mr. Whiskers finally woke up fully. He stood, stretched with the kind of languorous motion that showed every muscle, and hopped down to weave between my legs, purring. Several aliens scrambled backward. I picked him up, all 15 pounds of orange chaos, and he immediately started head-butting my chin. Classic attention-seeking behavior. "See? He's a sweetheart," I said. It's showing affection to you," Lady Shimzara whispered in awe. "The predator has bonded with you." Yeah, because I feed him. It's basically a protection racket with extra steps. I tucked Mr. Whiskers under one arm, grabbed the trophy with the other, and started heading for the exit. Wait, mastiffs even bigger. 200 mastiffs even bigger. 200. Kel's crystalline structure actually cracked slightly. You have 200-pound pack hunters living in your homes? Yeah, they're great with kids, I said cheerfully. Behind me, I heard what sounded like multiple beings hitting the floor. As I walked out of the Andromeda Prime Entertainment Complex, trophy in hand and Mr. Whiskers purring against my shoulder, I could hear Vix Quarnax making emergency announcements. Ladies, gentlemen, and gelatinous beings, please remain calm. The Galactic Council is hereby issuing a formal advisory. Earth and its inhabitants are to be approached with significant caution. Do not, under any circumstances, threaten their companion animals. They have successfully domesticated their planet's apex predators and show no fear of creatures that would terrify any rational species. This has been a public safety announcement. Mr. Whiskers yawned, completely oblivious to the fact that he'd just shifted humanity's entire standing in galactic politics. I scratched behind his ears. Good boy, I said. You want treats when we get home? He purred louder. Yeah. Best $75 I ever spent. Behind us, the galaxy frantically updated its files on Earth, and somewhere in the Galactic Council chambers, someone was probably scheduling an emergency session on the human problem. But that was future Jake's issue. Present Jake had 50 million credits and a cat who needed dinner. Priorities.